Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our backyard. It is towards the end of September, and we are have been in the throes of hummingbird migration. In fact, this past Monday, I had the most hummingbirds in my yard than I've had in a long time at any one given point in time, and it was probably between 15 and 20 hummingbirds just darting around, and it was a lot of fun, and this whole week has been a lot of fun. So today's video, what I would like to do is I'm just going to go around the yard and share with you some of the things that I've been noticing in my gardens for this end of September. And what you see right here is Salvia leucantha, or the Mexican bush sage. My name is Crystal, and I garden south of Houston along the Texas Gulf Coast, and we are hot and humid, and we have heavy clay soil. We are still warm. We're in the low 90s, and so September for us is still completely summer. It isn't fall, even though we have passed the fall equinox. The only difference we notice is in the sun. So the reason I'm showing you this is I have a very small little planting here of this Salvia leucantha, and this year for some reason all my Salvia leucantha has decided to grow really tall, flower beautifully this fall, and it is over 6 feet tall. I'm having to show up and angle my camera up. This is just amazing to me. And the reason I'm showing you this is because this salvia is beloved by hummingbirds and butterflies and pollinators alike. It flowers a little bit in the spring, but it flowers mainly in the fall. And it does its show here in the fall. It has a beautiful purple fuzzy calyx, and then this white, almost orchid-like color bloom, and the pollinators just love this plant. I'm going to go show you another area where I have it. We had a rainstorm and a little bit of wind, and so some of my Salvia leucantha got battened down a little bit, but this is also an area, and I can see this a lot, and it's right what I call my center garden bed. And the pollinators, especially my pipevine swallowtails, love this particular plant. And I love it in the fall. I especially love it when I have performers that love to perform in the fall. It's beautiful in the summer. It's got the green foliage, or that kind of blue tinge to it. Oh, I have a hummingbird up here. Let's see if I can share. She decided to move. That's usually how it is. And I have this kind of tiered, if you will. So I've got the cardinal climber on the trellises. Then the mid tier pretty much is the Kufia and this beautiful Salvia leucantha, and then my dwarf red porterweed over here. And it's just midsection, if you will. And then my lower sections, I've got lantana, and I've got gora that is still blooming beautifully, and pink pentas, and then I've got my hot lips. So I have other plants that are starting to rebloom. I've got some bloom here that's going on with my coneflower, and then I've got reseeding, as you can see here, with my Salvia coccinea, because I didn't plant it here, but it's starting to reseed. And I never went, but I'm getting some I'm getting some coneflowers that are coming up, but golly, they're getting kind of taken over by a lot of these other plants that have been reseeded. But I love it. I love what's going on. I have cut this back a couple of times. This is my Stokesia, or the Stokes aster, and you can see I need to come out here and trim this. The leaves are doing fine, but the blooms are done again now. So I think I've trimmed this twice now. and I need to come out here and do that again. But I like this. I really like this layered look. And all of these are pollinator hits. And you know, in the heat of the summer, they all look gorgeous. And my hummingbirds are coming to the lantana and the pentas also. And the pentas are just producing prolifically. These are called the butterfly series. And they're about, 3.5, 4 feet tall. What's amazing to me is how the hummingbirds will actually take time to come down and visit the pentas. I don't know why. It just seems like more of a butterfly plant. But they do, and they've been enjoying it, including the lantana. I'm coming over to the south area of my garden. If you grow giant milkweed, don't be alarmed when you start seeing yellow leaves. They do that. That is normal. They do that according to the sun and the length of the days, and so they do need to shed some of their leaves in preparation of winter or winter time. So maybe best way to describe it is just change of seasons. In the last video I shared with you that my candlestick alata, or my candlestick tree here, it was getting ready to bloom, and look at that. Isn't that wonderful? I love the look of this foliage. It has big foliage. I love it. Folds up in the evening time, and it's just a unique plant. I grew this from seed, and I will be starting this from seed earlier next year, because I started it late in the springtime, unfortunately. But it is blooming this fall, and so I absolutely love seeing this. It is a host plant to the sulfur butterflies, so I want to get a little bit more of this in my garden if possible. You'll notice I have a lot of the giant milkweed, and I just like that structure. I like how it looks intertwined in with my other flowering plants. And as you can see, we've got firebush back in here. I've got Mexican flame vine on the trellis on the fence. And so there's just a lot of stuff going on, in addition to things like lantana and kufia. I have one plant back here of this Mexican bush sage. My husband said we pulled it out and we put it in the compost heap, and this plant said, no, I want to live. And it was just trying to come up, and he said, you know what, let's plant it. And so we planted it, and look, it is all over back in here in this garden. I love it. So it is thriving back in here also. This is one plant and I guess it's decided to kind of sprawl all out back here. But this, I don't see this garden back in through here unless I come back here, but it is totally planted with all pollinators, birds, hummingbirds, butterflies, bees, native bees in mind. If you follow my channel, you know I'm a huge fan of the Lonicera sempervirens, which is this native coral honeysuckle. It's native to Texas, but it's native to many states in the United States. This is a huge favorite of all kinds of wildlife. I highly recommend, if you like a vine that is not invasive and it is a good grower. I have it on trellises here, but it doesn't overtake things. I highly recommend this. And not only for its blooms, because it's starting to bloom again a little bit more this fall. It blooms all year. The huge bloom is in the spring, in March, when we have the humming migration starting in the spring coming through. But now it's blooming a little bit more for the fall, and it's creating these berries. And you can see I've got berries that are all different states. They get to be a beautiful red berry, and the birds really love these. And so I'm tickled to see this, because in this vine I have birds all day long, and they like to go in there for shelter. I haven't really gone in there to see if there's any nests, because I don't really want to disturb anything, but I absolutely love this vine. I have two that I planted in the ground. And let me go around the side. And right next to it, I have, or around the corner, I have three in very large containers. And these two containers, the roots do not have access to the ground, but in the final container back there, it does. And I've created, my husband drilled out a large section of the container, and that has access to go down into the ground. You might ask me why I do this, and it's because we have lots of rain at times. I can have a lot of standing water back here for multiple days in a row, and plants that don't like to have their feet in standing water for extended time do very poorly. So I've had a lot of plants actually die back here in this garden, and it's taken me a while to figure out what to plant back in here to have a combination of both containers and in-ground plantings. And these natives do so much better than any other type of plants. I have a lot of Salvia farinaceae back here also. So in any case, I wanted to share this with you on the coral honeysuckle. Love this plant. If you follow my channel, you know I'm a huge fan of hanging baskets. And I never really purchased a lot of hanging baskets this year. I don't know why. This one I'm showing you was from last year, and this is a Swedish ivy, and it is blooming beautifully. And the reason I want to show you this also is because the pollinators really like these tender, delicate little flowers. Look at that. That kind of reminds me of a little orchid almost. But anyway, this plant, I didn't like the looks of it over the winter. It didn't look good. So I put it in an area where I don't really see the plants. Of course I watered it, but I never put any fertilizer in it. I never put any new soil in it. And so this is a year later. This plant has just decided to look beautiful, and I've had it hanging now for about a month. It looks good, and I love the flowers. Interesting. One plant that's an unsung hero in the garden is Mystic Spire Salvia. You know, I don't talk about this plant a whole lot. These native bumblebees love mystic spires. I have 3 plants planted in full sun. I get a little bit of afternoon shade at times because of the trees above. And it looks a little bit unruly here in this north garden bed. And it is. But there's only 3 plants over here. And look how prolific this Mystic Spires is. These aren't separate plants. The growth on these and the flowering capability is wonderful. They flower way more prolifically than my native Salvia farinaceae. And I do have Salvia farinaceae also, which is a Texas native. This plant, one of the parent plants, is a Salvia farinaceae, but it just blooms more. Mystic Spires for the Houston area is just a win. So for those of you that want to have pollinators in your garden, you can certainly keep it a little bit more under control than I have, but I let this north garden go and it just has flowered from the beginnings of spring, and it just nonstop until frost. This is such a pollinator workhorse in the garden. Love the color, and I really love what it provides. I've got a hummingbird that's wanting to feed on the cardinal climber here. It's way over on that end. He's been talking to me, telling me that I'm kind of in the way. Isn't this just interesting? It blooms, the cardinal climber. This is the time of year it's doing its thing, and it attracts so many hummingbirds into our gardens. I really appreciate this vine grown from seed, that I grow from seed every year. I do have to plant the seed. It does not reseed itself. It's non-invasive. But golly, planting seeds every spring is not a burden at all. And they just flower so prolifically at this time of year. Isn't that pretty? If you want butterflies in your garden, the trick is to have host plants of the butterflies that you want to attract. And one of the butterflies that I have in my garden that thrives beautifully is this plant called the white-veined Dutchman's pipevine. And the pipevine swallowtail, it's a black and iridescent blue butterfly, hosts on this plant. And this plant can completely get eaten to the ground, all the leaves gone off of it multiple times a year, and it comes back gorgeously. I have, through the last 4 years or so, gotten to where I have this whole area, it's a pretty large area here, planted with this plant. And I've just enjoyed all of the caterpillars we have in the yard. The reason the caterpillars, I have more of this caterpillar, is because this plant makes the caterpillar toxic to lizards and birds, and so if they eat it, they get sick and they learn not to eat it. So this plant in the yard has huge success of having a lot of pipevine swallowtails, and that's the most butterfly I have in our garden pretty much throughout the summer, is because we have this host plant. The other one is the Gulf fritillary. That's pretty close. I planted a shrimp plant, a month and a half ago, and it flowered gorgeously, and it's just starting to flower again. I really like this plant. This is yellow as opposed to the rust-colored shrimp plant that I have. And I was so tickled to come out here and see this, that it's going through and going to have another flush of flowers on it. What do you have thriving in your gardens at the moment? What are you really happy with to see? Whether it's flowers or blooms or foliage. What is shining, or what makes you happiest when you go out into your gardens? Of course, I like seeing all the blooms, but I really like seeing the wildlife. Whether it's hummingbirds or butterflies or native bees, or even lizards. It's just fun to watch, to see what they do in the garden. Well, thank you for joining me this morning as we just took a look out here in the gardens to see what was going on. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and I hope to see you again soon.